The Nick of Time podcast, everyone. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's going to be a good one.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the Nick of Time podcast. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. The love and support is so much appreciated. If you're feeling very kind, feeling generous, please like and subscribe. All the support, all the love, like I said, I couldn't appreciate it anymore. Furthermore, a very special guest today. I can't even talk. It's a very great friend of mine, family friend actually. We grew up together. So she needs no introduction. Marilyn Martinez,
Hi.
welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. Yep. We've been friends since junior high, so that's a really long time. I'm looking forward to today.
Awesome. So we're about to get into it. So there's a lot of topics we're going to cover today, as like mental health, school, work. The pandemic 2020 was a really crazy year for everybody.
Really?
So what I wanted to start with for the most part is something light, as far as school.
Okay.
And the college experience, because a lot of us have to go to school and work. And I was a little bit different because I didn't have to pay for my school necessarily, being in the Air Force. So I want to know from, somebody else's perspective, how is that process? And, basically elaborate, how was that, now that you're graduated, going from, 18 in high school to, okay, now I'm in the college world.
Right. Well, my experience, in my opinion, was I've always been like a really fast pace, get things done, do this, do that after the other. So right out of high school, I went to college. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. All I knew was that I wanted to be in the medical field. So I just did a lot of my basics that led me to some options once I finished my basics in a profession in the medical field. And then I saw that there was I started out as a physical therapy assistant major. And then I found out that wasn't for me. Like I went to clinicals and stuff, didn't really like the whole process. I mean, it's not for everybody, So I found that there was one for a radiology program, which I didn't think I would get in at first, to be honest. It's crazy because they only take 16 people out of like however many applicants, like hundreds. And I'm very grateful that I got accepted so quickly. My first try, I got accepted, and I ended up really loving that profession. And so yeah, like you said, I graduated now, but the whole process was hard working and going to school. Basically, I worked like 2 jobs and one didn't pay me. Well, I was okay. Basically, I was working 3 jobs and only one was paying me because I had to do clinicals full time, which is a whole job in itself. And that was for, it's like a volunteer thing. So you didn't get paid for that or anything. It was just very hard. It was a lot of time consuming and you had to manage your time really well, which I'm not the best at. I'm not saying I'm a procrastinator, but like it's difficult to not overwhelm myself. It's easy for me to get overwhelmed and stuff. So but it was a great experience. I learned a lot. I learned how to manage my time better. I made a lot of good friends, and I made a lot of connections in the medical field in our local area here in Odessa. So yeah, it's been a really crazy ride. And I'm sure it's been different for you, but I bet yours has been just as crazy.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like from my perspective, it's a lot different, but I love to hear, the story simply because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I turned 18. So I was like, deer in the headlights, thinking, well, do I continue to play sports and possibly go to UTBB or whatever the case may be? And I knew that I just couldn't stay where I was at. No matter what, I knew that I needed to leave.
Yeah.
And not that there was nothing for me there. I'm sure I could have went to school and been very successful. Like I have no doubt about it. But I knew that I didn't want to be behind. And not
Right.
necessarily that anybody that goes to school is behind, but we you know, just as I know, sometimes a lot of us out here we don't come from a lot.
Right. Yeah.
So so being behind the curve, and especially from the male perspective, because you're supposed to be, unfortunately this is the way society
No, it
is,
is. Yeah, they're
the
supporter. They're
provider.
like the, yeah,
Yeah,
they like the
the provider,
foundation,
the
you
men in the
know?
house. Yeah,
Hmm.
like money needs to be coming in, all this stuff, and that's a different kind of pressure. And I knew I needed to leave, and I was like, well, this is gonna be something. Joining the Air Force is gonna be something that put some money in my pocket and
Hmm.
figure it out. Uh, and yeah, 5 years later, speaking of that, I just hit my 5th year mark today. It's
Oh
kind of crazy to think
wow.
about.
That's
Yeah. Uh,
crazy. Yeah. 5 years ago today, you went off, and unfortunately I couldn't be there, but I was so proud of you, and I still am. So that's amazing.
no, for sure. So now that you've done the whole radiology thing,
Hmm.
like I really just want to get into the pandemic side because I know you had brought it
Oh
up.
wow. Hmm.
Um, and this is for not only like in what you do for all healthcare workers,
All
because
healthcare workers.
my mother has been a CNA since I could breathe, you know.
Mhm.
So she tells me about it all the time, and just to see, from another person's perspective as well, like what was 2020 like for you as far as working in the healthcare industry?
Right. For me, whenever the pandemic first started, I remember I was working as a student aide in a Midland Memorial, and I'm still there today currently. But I was working as a student aide, and it broke out like the news did about some type of new unknown, well, like strain of COVID that was contagious. And we were like, all of the coworkers were like, it's like the flu, or like it's
Yeah.
nothing major. It will be fine. It's in China. They're gonna handle it, whatever.
Mhm.
And then a couple, like in March, this broke out in like January, and then March is when we really started to see that it was a serious issue, because it started to spread really quickly, um, and aggressively. And so when I graduated from the program, it was May 2020. And so that's whenever the pandemic started to take its snowball effect. And I was basically like not thrown to the wolves, but I think I could speak for me and for everybody in the medical field that just graduated that year and had to start in the medical field, that it was a lot different and a lot more. You had to learn a lot quicker. You had to adapt to the new norm, I guess, really quickly,
Mhm.
because people were coming to the hospital so sick, and so like in such bad condition that everything was like this. So like when I first graduated and started working in the medical field, I would take like graveyard shifts to help out because it was just that crazy. It got really, really crazy. We have like over 800 beds um
Mhm.
in our floor, and almost, like I can say, like 90% of those beds were COVID patients in very bad conditions. So it was a very intense experience, but I'm grateful for it because I feel like it made me a better tech, because I was not forced, but like I had to apply my tools that I learned in school and apply myself to help these people and really help them get better, like everybody else was doing. So it was
I
crazy.
understand that. Is there one specific like incident or day? I know it's like a whole pandemic, right? We're talking about a year's worth of time, but was there one
Hmm.
day where like either you were just like overwhelmed and couldn't believe what was happening, or like something that sticks out to you that 2020 brought that was just like, wow, like this is crazy.
Um, so like thankfully, COVID didn't really hit uh very aggressively like my household. Uh, but what really stuck with me around this with this pandemic was me having to sometimes do x-rays on really critical patients that I knew like they were my family, but like not close family. They were like far uncles or family friends and stuff like that. And to see them like in that condition, that was where I really was like, oh wow, this hit me, and I really wanted to spread awareness of that. Like, be careful, wash your hands, stay away from people. Don't go out if you don't really have to. I mean, nobody's perfect. We all had to. I understood that, we had to go out for certain things that were necessary, needed, and nobody's perfect. We all went out whenever it was really bad, but uh, yeah, that's when it really hit me, and it was very overwhelming to see people that I care about in that situation, in that condition. Um, so
No, for sure. I think that everyone has a different COVID experience or a pandemic experience, I should say. And it was difficult for a lot of us. I mean, a little bit of my story. I know everyone had a difficult year. For me, it was pretty bad because I was in the process of PCSing, the military term for like moving.
right,
I was moving from Germany to Turkey, Incirlik Air
okay,
Base. And Incirlik Air Base is just currently a base just based off its location, a bunch of other factors. At the time was like shut down. This is before COVID. So not shut down as in like not operational, but shut down as in no, we couldn't leave the base. Pretty decent sized base. They had as much amenities as they could. They had like a bowling alley and stuff like that.
oh
But
okay,
there wasn't a lot there. It wasn't like some community uh golf course or nothing
right.
like that.
Did they have like restaurants and stuff too, though, or anything like that?
It
Like,
had like two,
oh,
yeah, like
oh
two
okay, okay,
restaurants, yeah, and then a few like pizza, like it had like a Pizza Hut, but it was like a takeout.
right,
But it was enough to get you through a year.
right,
But when COVID hit, so I got there sometime late February. COVID hit a few weeks later after me being there. I don't know anybody really. Um, it's a new year. I'm in a new spot. It's a new job. Same job, but every base works differently. So like I'm having to like catch up to speed on a lot of new information. And when COVID hit, it was like, okay, well, we're taking the gym away, which is super important to me
oh yeah,
and people that know me. We're taking the restaurants away. And then I was struggling to like get to know people because now it's like, oh, well, we can't be in groups of more than 3 people. Well, nobody knows me anyways. So like even if I wanted to be in a group of 3 people, it's very
mhm,
difficult, right?
right,
And that lasted from March to almost like mid-July.
right.
And
Ugh,
then and I'm talking about everything being closed. We didn't get the gym back. I had to like run and do calisthenics outside for a very long time. We didn't get the gym back till like first week, second week of July. And I'll never forget how difficult that time was because a lot of people that know me are like, oh yeah, he's very motivated, he's ambitious, he's this, he's that. But that time broke me. And
yes,
it really humbled me to the point of realizing how fragile not only myself, but like us as human beings are.
yes. I was about to mention that. Like, so, like, nobody wants to or really talks about the mental health part of what happened. Like, no matter what anyone says, we as human beings need each other. Like, we are here because for each other. Does that make sense? It's like,
Yeah, for sure.
we could do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We could do
Uh,
whatever we want like alone and say we can do things on our own, but like the bottom line, yeah, like we're here for each other, so it was really hard to be separated for so long, isolated basically for so long from so many people that we wanted to be around, or
yeah.
you know
And the worst thing, anybody could ever do to somebody is put somebody in solitary confinement. You could be in a
Mm,
prison full of murderers, you know what I mean,
mhm.
molesters, all this stuff, and the worst thing they can do is put you by yourself. So I get to Turkey, and we already can't leave. Boom, COVID's hit. Okay, now we can't do anything. Everything's closed. So now we were already kind of quarantined. Now we could leave and take leave like on a plane, but it had to go through uh like basically like a airplane shuttle, I guess, a terminal. So it was only out of base. So it's not like we could just like go on Google and be like, let me like find a flight,
Yeah.
And then for the military, you follow those country rules. So whatever country you're in, whatever their guidelines are as far as travel, that's the rules you're gonna follow. In Europe, like most people know, I got a lot of friends still out there.
Mm,
They recently opened up. You know what I mean?
right.
It's not like Texas or Florida or any of these other places in the States. Like they recently opened up and are able to like go places.
Right. They're like,
And
are they like at barely 50 capacity and stuff too still and all that? Because we're already at, 100, but
yeah, yeah, I don't remember the exact numbers because like I
okay.
said, I haven't had to deal with it, but I know they opened up like fully. I want to say I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that, but I'm probably like
Like
only a
recently.
few, yeah, recent, like a few weeks ago. But so we had to follow these rules, and it was so just detrimental to, like you said, my mental health. And I had never been in that position of just like broken down and weak as I could ever been. And the thing is, right, you don't really think about it until you're like, oh, like we do really need each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like and
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends in a lot of places, and I I cherish every moment that I have with family, friends, you know what I mean? But you don't really think about that, especially when I was like across the ocean. I was like, oh, I'm gone, but like, oh, I'm gonna come home, gonna come home, gonna come home.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when that pandemic hit, it was like I had no hope of coming home. Now,
Really?
obviously, and not at all, but it's like the option,
Okay.
right?
Oh,
When that
okay.
when that gets taken from you,
Yeah, like you're
it's
limited.
like no, like you're not gonna come home because Europe and the surrounding countries deemed like that it's just not gonna happen.
And who knew for how long either? That was scary about it too. No one knew how long this was gonna last. And yeah, I understand you
For
now.
sure. So it's kind of like I know you're getting ready to make a big move, right? Imagine COVID hitting, and then they say, hey, like you can't leave the state of Oklahoma,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's not that you
Boomer
it's not that
sooner.
it's not that you don't know that you're eventually gonna make it back to Texas, right?
Right.
That wasn't the issue. The issue was that somebody told you that you cannot leave right here, right now.
Right.
And that's crazy because I had just got there, right? But
Mm-hmm.
think of the perspective of all these people that had been there a year, right? And couldn't really leave the base. And they did their year and they're like, I'm ready to get out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go to my next base, see my family. I've been away from my wife, kids. There's so many people I know that were like that. And I have close friends that I had to like have these conversations with, you
Yeah.
know?
To help
And
them see the better side of it, even though it was very difficult at that time.
yeah, but imagine them doing their time, their 1 year like they're supposed to. And then March hits and they're like, oh, I leave in the month of March. I have my plane tickets. I'm ready to leave. Like I have my plane ticket out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, COVID hits and they say you're not leaving until July.
You're like,
You know what I mean? These
yeah.
are these are brothers, sisters, fathers, grandfathers, parents,
Mm-hmm.
husbands, wives. Like it wasn't no joke, and it really
Right.
hit. Not that one story is better than the others, but it really
No.
hit everybody in a very drastic way.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Yeah. That's crazy. It kind of humbled
But
me, like you said earlier too, because of that. Like you didn't really think about like from one day to the next, you literally became limited to a lot of things that at one point was so free to you. And that humbled me. I was like, wow, like I am so lucky to be able to have like all those options, and like one day to other people in the world, like they don't have that option, like they don't get to, you know, go whenever they want, where they want. And you know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like when that happened, I was like, wow, like it really, really made me realize a lot.
And I always try to think about, okay, yeah, it sucks for me, but think about the people that are stuck like in the jungle or in the
Hmm.
Middle East, which technically we kind of were in the Middle East, but we had more amenities than somebody stuck in like Afghanistan or a place like that. You know,
Yeah. Hmm.
that's a different kind of level of like stuck. So
Right.
I made sure the friends that I had out there, I would call them, like, hey, checking up on these guys. Like, are you okay? Are you good? You know what I mean? Is everything all right? And that kind of like goes into my next topic of like mental
Okay.
health.
Right.
I know we kind of like already been talking about it,
Yeah.
but
Scratch the surface.
I yeah, I think there's so much more
Yeah.
that goes into that a lot of us aren't educated about, and I'm
Right.
still learning,
Hmm.
what is um what is something that you think that we can do as society, as young folks, young adults, that we can better help each other as far as when it comes to our mental health.
I feel like our generation forgot a lot about how I was talking about earlier. Um, like we need each other, and I feel like these days, um, it's like every man for themselves, which I know the world can be like a very, difficult, cruel place or whatever, but you can still have those people you can lean on and trust. And I think it's really important to know who those people are, first off, and not be afraid to ask them for help or for, just someone to hang out with, to talk to. And I just feel like we need to remember how to be nicer to each other, and like remember to that whoever was, you know, like you at one point, to help them out with what they needed, because at one point you were at that level and you needed help. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah.
Just like remember to do that for each other, because I mean we're all in this together. We all
Of,
have a seat at the table, or we
of
could.
course.
So
More sympathy and empathy.
yes.
Yes, I,
Okay.
I
Yes.
definitely I definitely agree. I was talking to a friend of mine out here in San Antonio who, as a man, like man to man, sometimes we just struggle, and it's hard. It's hard for, especially as a male, to just get those feelings out.
Why is
And
that? I do want to ask that question. Why is it so hard for males to? Does it feel like you're being like weak, or you know what I mean? Like I think it's very attractive when a man shows their emotions and isn't afraid of what anybody else would think about that. You know what I mean?
I think I don't think I think it's like just a natural instinct. And not like a natural instinct in everyone, but just over time, it was always like, hey, shove it down. Like, you know what I mean?
Like be strong.
Be strong. And yeah, I don't know. I would say just history,
Okay.
probably,
Mhm.
probably where that comes from. And then as far as like when I was talking to my friend about mental health and, excuse me, how it's harder for males, I was saying that the greatest thing, like you said, men can do, and even women, is just be vulnerable.
Mhm.
Because a lot of times we have this guard up, right?
Mhm.
Whether it's uh, in our love life, with our family, with our friends, whatever the case may be, where it's like, I'm not gonna show you everything, because if I do, then somehow, some way, somebody's gonna break me. And I'm not talking about just relationships. I'm talking about
Even
like abuse,
friendships.
yeah, abuse that. you know?
Yes, use that against you.
And I think you said it perfectly earlier when you were talking about why don't you just be more vulnerable? Like, like
Yeah.
why don't guys just like share their
Hmm.
emotions? And I feel like that is power, you
Hmm.
know. But in our society, we mentioned earlier how we just like this is us, like no sympathy, no empathy, like this is my these are my eggs in my basket,
Hmm.
and you don't get to look, see, touch, feel any of them
Hmm.
because that's that's the place that we've gone to now.
Right. Like we've
And
been like over time we've been like what do you call it? Programmed to be like in a way, you know?
for sure, for sure, for sure. And I just want to, for everyone out there that's listening, I just want to let them know that like you are not alone.
No.
And I promise you, especially my guy friends out there, being vulnerable. Now you don't have to be vulnerable to the whole world. Trust is something that's pretty huge. But being vulnerable to the few people you care about and just calling each other up and being like checking up on them, like, hey, you doing all right? Like, you good? And when people say, oh yeah, I'm good, like everything's good, like, no, no, I didn't ask, like,
Hmm.
just to ask. I'm asking because I care.
Because I genuinely
Talk,
want to know, you know?
yeah, talk to me, like, how are you doing? And I think we just need more of that, you know?
Definitely.
And I don't know, things like this, I think they help. I think they help a whole lot.
They definitely do. Well, and
That's
then
awesome.
that's what I'm going to school for. So that's crazy. It's so interesting to me. The human mind and like, the different emotions we can go through and what it does to you as a person. So I'm excited to learn more about this topic.
Woo, I'm excited for you. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people? We got a little snippet of it earlier.
Yeah.
Tell the people exactly what's going on in the future.
Well, Nick, I will be moving, as you know, to Oklahoma in less than a month now. And this was a decision I decided out of the blue. I went for my birthday to Oklahoma to visit some family. And at the time, like you were saying, my mental health was really like, okay, what do I do now? Like I felt stagnant. So I went there and I decided I need to further my education. I love to learn. I don't really have hobbies. I don't know why. Like I don't really like to do anything, but whenever I'm in a classroom or like I'm reading a really interesting book on something that is teaching me something, I dive in and like I am there for hours. I don't know why. It's really interesting to me to learn something I don't know, to know the unknown. So yeah, I'll be moving to Oklahoma for my bachelor's in psychology. Hopefully one day I can further that degree to a PhD. But as for right now, I'm taking it step by step, and I'll be over there in August. So I'm wearing an Oklahoma shirt right now.
You hate to see it. Oh,
I'm ready.
you
I'm
love and
sorry. I
you
know.
love and hate to see it. So for those of y'all that don't know, I'm super proud of her. That's big news, especially after having one BA going for another degree is amazing, right? But I am a Texas fan for the life of me. You could say I bleed orange, so anything sooner just makes me kind of want to puke a little bit. But it doesn't matter because she's going. She's going to be even more educated than she already is, and that's super dope. You have no idea what an accomplishment that is.
Thank
And
you.
explain this process, right? Because that's not easy. I know what it feels like, and it's 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 such a struggle bus to go from a place
Right.
that you've known, your hometown, to somewhere where even though it may be familiar, because like you said, I know you have family up there, but it's not a familiar permanent resident. Like, it's not a familiar like, hey, I live here. This is where I stay.
Right.
You know? So I can relate to that, and I just want to get your thoughts on how you're preparing for this move mentally. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not so much all the logistics and nothing like that, but just how do you mentally prepare for this, and how do you feel like you're going to be going into it?
Um, Mentally, I just like to remind myself that although I am leaving everything I know, it's a new start for me, which I've been needing for a really long time. So that's all I keep reminding myself to think about is it's a new start, it's fresh. You you know, get to basically build I get to basically build myself back up into something greater, and that's all I'm thinking about. I can't I'm like my mind's not like really letting me process the part where I'm leaving my parents far 6 hours away, you know. It's not really letting me think about that because then I'm not gonna lie, I do get really, sad, and it's hard because I've lived with my parents for 23 years, and they rely on me a lot. I won't get into like family problems, but like they rely on me a lot to pick up a lot of um
All is
situations
slack.
around the house.
Yeah,
Yes, a lot of slack around the house. So but I know this is gonna be a good thing for all of us eventually. It's gonna be like a sad moment now, but later on they'll get to see me succeed, and it's gonna be nice because I'll be able to, you know, come back and help them more in any other ways that I need to. So yeah, I'm seeing
for
it as a
sure.
positive more than all the negatives. So
Well,
I'm
obviously
excited.
you should, because
Yeah,
you should see it as a positive, because it's a chance, an opportunity for you to grow, for you to learn more, for you to really spread your wings, right, and just go for it. That's what I did with this podcast, right? I literally just went for it. I
exactly.
couldn't wait. I couldn't wait. I had this burning urge. I was like, there's a lot of good people out there with a lot of good things to say and a lot of stories, and I just got to get their messages out there, because maybe somebody else is in that same boat that I'm not in, that you are, or that you're not in, that I am, et cetera, that can benefit from this. And it means so much. And I wanted just to elaborate from my perspective on the when you talked about moving, because it's all about balance, right? It's a new start. I was so focused out of high school to have that new start that I kind of had the opposite effect, right?
Okay.
So boom, I go to Korea, have a new start. Was there for a year, leave, go to Germany, have a new start. I have these coworkers that I work with. 6 months into being in Germany, I deploy. I go to Kenya, and I have even more people I gotta, start fresh with. I leave Kenya, right? Go back to Germany, and now it's a different group of coworkers than when I first got there.
Right.
And then I'm there. Um, I want to say another 8 to 9 months, and then boom, I go to Turkey. Now I got this new environment of people. So my whole life has been a new start, a new start, a new start, and none of those people along the way that I was close to ever like left each other's side. Like, we were friends or friends,
Hmm.
and that's not easy. You remember being in like the sixth grade, and you're like, oh, we're going to middle school, we're going to junior high.
Hmm.
I'm never gonna see so and so again, blah blah blah, or whatever the case may be, right? Like,
Right.
as an adult, that stuff really doesn't change. The only thing that's different is, as an adult, you don't really move like that,
Right.
you know.
Hmm.
And there are people that grow up that way as kids, but once you become an adult, usually you're just like, hey, like, I'm residing here, I'm residing there. So sometimes it's good to find that balance, because I was always moving, and it was very, very. I was grateful. It was very interesting, and I was grateful because I got to be introduced to a lot of great people.
That you
I got
still
to
are
see.
connected to today, right? Like you make great
Correct,
friendships and stuff, which is great. Yep.
correct, correct. Great friendships. I got to travel. I've been to numerous amount of countries. I don't even know. I think it's like 18 or 19 or something like that.
That's incredible.
And I wouldn't take that back for the world, right? But everything was just happened so fast that I blinked, and my life was like, well, like, I have no stability,
Right.
And then
Okay.
sometimes that is like important on your mental health. So what did I do? I navigated the waters of the Air Force to try to get back to Texas, and now I'm here in San Antonio. and this is my home. Like,
Yeah.
and not San Antonio, like, oh, this is where I'm staying for the rest of my life. But I bought the house, right? I bought a new home, and then it was something that I could just call mine
Mhm.
compared to picking my stuff up and going and going and going. So I say all this to realize that everything, no matter what it is in life, requires a balance, an equal and opposite reaction, because this new start is what you need, or I believe is what you need.
Mhm.
But remember that with new starts, you just got to balance. Like, everything doesn't always have to be a new start.
Right, right.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So this is like more so for the people out there, because if you're one of those persons that's always on the go, always on the go, hey, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm here, I'm there,
Yeah.
like, slow it down sometimes. I
Yeah.
get it.
Like that's necessary
Yeah.
sometimes for sure.
And then if you're on the opposite end, right, and you're kind of just comfortable, like, this is where I've lived, this is where I've grown up, this is where I'm gonna stay. Not that you have to get up and move, but go take a trip, go see something, put yourself on the go, because
Balance.
that balance in life is super important, and it's only gonna help the big topic at hand that we were talking about, is our mental health.
Yes. It all comes down to like asking yourself too, like what like just ask yourself right at this moment, what do you want in your life? What is it something that you feel is missing? If that's a trip, if that's a new dog, if that's a whatever the case may be, that go get that. This is your life. You have one life and you're the protagonist in it. You're the main character. You do what you want, you know what I mean? It's as simple as that. A lot of people would like to make it a lot more difficult. It's not like okay, at work it's crazy because I told them I was so excited, and I know it's difficult for other people to see your vision, to see your dream, to see what you see for yourself. Sometimes all they see is all these obstacles, but I see the end. I see what as at the end of all those obstacles. I don't care what I have to go through. um I'm gonna do it. Like I don't
Yeah.
care. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like I hope everyone out here seeing this remembers, like I said, you are the protagonist, and you are the protagonist in your own story, and you can do what you want. You just gotta, put that effort in. And a lot of people don't want to put that effort in. And yeah, I told my coworkers I was, moving. I was excited, a new start, whatever. And all they could think about, all they could see was the expenses of it all, the waking up early, going home late, the struggle. And I was like, it's gonna be a struggle. I didn't say it was gonna be easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I just wish people saw more the side of like the reward. It's gonna be so rewarding. I can't wait. I can't wait. I don't care how hard
Well,
it is.
well, that reminds me, like growing up in a big football town, everyone was like, hey, like, you're that football guy, that's what you do. And that was really hard on, like, a 17, 16, 18-year-old kid. um
Yeah.
and it was a lot of pressure that I never asked for. I just like to play that game. Football was super fun to me. I enjoyed it. So when it came time for us to graduate, and I had finally made the decision that I was going to join the Air Force all by myself, I had already signed up at 18 before I told my parents. And it
Yeah.
was a very crazy, interesting, I guess, release when I finally did tell them, because it was the, like, opposite reactions. I thought my mom was gonna freak out, and, like, I thought she was just gonna cry. And
Hmm.
she was just like, "Oh, that's nice." She was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna miss you," And I was like, "Oh."
Oh.
And then me and my dad kind of butted heads a little bit, and me and my dad have a really tight relationship, but he was like, "Why? Where's this coming from?
Hmm.
Like, like you can go to school, you can play ball, you could do this." And it was just something that I was like, this is what I have to do. And not you, not my mother, not there wasn't a person on the planet that was gonna, like, change my mind.
Right.
So we fast forward, right? 4.5, 5 years later, and I manifested this home probably about 2.5 years ago when I was in Germany, saying, "Hey, I'm eventually going to get back to Texas and I want to buy a home." Not because I needed the world to see that, because I could care less about that. I needed that stability because, like you said, I was always on the go, and I
Mhm.
was tired of sleeping in a place which is where I stayed, but wasn't my bed.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? And I finally got to that point. So I'll never forget the first time the house was finally finished and I moved in. There was still not a lot in the house. I think I just had my bed, very few little furniture, and I showed my dad the house. And excuse me, the reaction on his face, and I couldn't like put it into words because all I thought about, and this was the same when my mother saw it too, was all the sacrifices and all the times, like we were struggling and they were struggling to just take care of me in any way they could. And that was a good feeling. And I say all this, that was a good feeling to feel because of a decision that I made,
Right. Hmm.
right? 5 years ago to say, hey, I know y'all have y'all's opinions, but this is what I'm gonna do.
Hmm.
And there's nothing that's gonna stop me. And like you were saying about your coworkers, it was like, oh, well, it's expensive and this and that, and there's a lot of work. But they don't think about what's on the other side of that,
Right.
right? On the other side of struggle, and this is Jocko Willing. This is one of my motivational speakers that I always listen to.
Hmm.
He always says there is anything on the other side of struggle is something good, you
Hmm.
know? So, yes, it's going to be a struggle, and yes, it's going to be a grind,
Hmm.
but I smile and I get excited for people because there's not going to be any bad that comes from it other than the
No.
struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which
Like,
passes. Yeah,
yes, you
exactly. It's
know,
like nothing worth having is anything worth having is worth waiting for and it's worth working hard for. Like, it's worth it, you know?
for sure.
And
So,
I don't want to
go
say
ahead.
I don't like living here. I just think that there's so much more out there for me still. Like how you decided, like you were like, this is a decision I made and I want to do it, you know? Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
too.
So, I know this isn't um ideal and you don't answer this any way you want to answer this, but as far as like your long-term goals, right? Because we have short terms, right? Obviously, you're gonna make this move to Oklahoma, boomer
Hmm.
sooner, right? Go to school. What do you see yourself like long term, as far as like with the big decision like this?
Long term, mm, well, I see myself with, a really nice, hopefully, house, and my office where I do my work and with my clients at. Um, I see myself hopefully one day with a family. I that's a major thing. I don't talk about it much, but that's a major thing I really want to succeed in. There's a lot of different ways you can succeed in life. Success to me looks like just me being happy, settled, happy where I'm settled at. That's why I'm moving to. I'm not happy where I'm at right now. Like, I don't want to settle here just yet. Like, I have so much more years ahead of me that I can work on that. So hopefully, I succeed in settling, having my house with my family, being happy there, and doing some type of real estate too. I'm
I
planning
love to
to
hear it.
hopefully do that. So yeah, that's
I love to
the
hear it.
goal.
So guys, for all you guys listening out there, don't settle. If you have something on your mind that you're just like, hey, this is something I have to do, and you can't even go a second without thinking about it,
Go for it.
just go for it. Because in the end, one or two things are gonna happen. You're either gonna succeed and follow through, or you're gonna learn from it. And I guess like as far as learning from big decisions like that, it's a big decision. I know we talked about school and we talked about mental health, talked about a lot of things. What advice do you have for people out there? Because it's different for me. But I believe that a lot of colleges and universities, not just a personal opinion, are it's a scam, you know. You pay
Mhm.
thousands of dollars for education. And there's a lot of things that education is necessary. And I
Right,
think no matter what kind of education you have, it's amazing. I'm going to school myself,
right.
but I go to school when I can because like work obviously gets in the way
Hmm.
of a lot of things. But what advice would you say to somebody that's like, I got to go to school because my parents told me, and that maybe they have a different idea, or their idea could be school, but just navigating those waters of the expenses of school and getting through that big leap.
Advice. I overall, I just think that um, if it seems too hard, too difficult, don't. There's always ways that you can find help in that aspect. You know, like financially, there's always things you can do. You just gotta really set your mind to it. You know what I mean? Um, I don't really think about the money. I don't know. I think that's my advice too. Don't really think about how expensive it is. Think about like that because you're investing in yourself. Yeah, like your perspective isn't wrong either. It is a scam in a way. Like you have to pay all this money for something that you need to learn. You know what I mean? To live. Like so, but I feel like money to me is an object. Like it, not in a bad way. I mean, meaning like it comes and goes, and like God will provide. I don't mean to get like religious or anything, but
No, hey,
what
please
like
elaborate.
he will provide whatever you believe in. Just whatever, believe in yourself first of all, but y- you will get through it. You just have to try every day. You have to wake up with that mindset, like I'm going to give it my all. And if you give it your all, and eventually, whether it takes 3 years, whether it takes four, whether it takes months, whether it takes whatever, you're gonna be where you want because you tried every day and to get to that goal. So you're gonna get there. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So that's my advice. And if you fail, another advice that I'm gonna give real quick before we head out. If you fail, get back up. Fail again, get back up. Like don't stay sitting there. You know what I mean? Don't stay pushed down. Get back up because that last getting back up is probably gonna be the one. You know what I mean? So
Mhm. No, I love that, and
don't be afraid to fail.
it's well spoken, right? Well spoken, and to you know add on to that, when we talk about, hey, don't stay there on the ground, get back up, hey, you got this. That all comes back to your environment. You know, who do you have around you? What do you have around you? Do you have positive people in your life that are trying to genuinely wish the best on you and helping you get to where you're trying to go? Or do you have people that will sit there and say, dude, like, you seriously, you're not gonna go out with us tonight? Like,
Or
no, dude, like I have
distract you.
homework.
Distractions. Yeah.
Correct. Distractions are real huge. So to all the viewers out there listening, hey, this as true as this can be and as sad as this can be, you are the five closest people around you. That's that's who you are. You know,
Mhm.
like maybe not to the T and personality wise, but that's what your environment is, and that's what you will ultimately entail, if not now, down the line. So just always keep a good environment around you, and that's what this podcast is for.
Yes.
You know, to those people that feel stuck, I feel like I don't have a place to turn. that's what this is for. And I hope, I pray that this helps other people now and down the line, because I don't know if you know this. You're talking about editing. I'm not really gonna edit this video. I'm gonna put like a beginning and an end, but the reason why is because there's so much to be spoken, or it speaks a lot
Right.
to just raw conversations. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And conversations that need to be had
And
in
that
our
people
in our
need to
generation
hear.
today. Yes, exactly. You know, especially as young folks, because we can get caught up in like the social media and uh just everything about our lives, right? That's like
That's not
our
reality. It's like,
yes, correct, correct. And these conversations are what real life is.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's how you get through those real life problems,
Yeah. I just
for
hope
sure.
people take this in a positive way and they makes them feel better. That's all my aim with. I hope they see that.
Awesome. So before we close it out, is there anything else you'd like to tell the people at all? It could be anything about anything. It could be about yourself, about friends, family, whatever you got. Just let the people know.
Well, first, just thank you for having me, and I hope I talked about things that you needed to hear and that you get up every day and just make it a good day because that's all I have to say. I just hope you have a good day.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Remember, guys, everybody have a great day, right? Get back up. And if you ever need some help, feel free to reach out to me. I'm always there. Um, I take a lot of pride in helping people. Everybody, again, Marilyn Martinez, the next boomer sooner,
Boomer
right?
sooner.
And may she have great endeavors on your new journey
Thank
in
you.
Oklahoma, and your second degree on the way.
Yes, thank you. I'll
Thank
be
you,
a
everybody.
therapist in 4 years. If you ever need to talk to someone, I'm always here. So
Already. Remember, guys, mental health is big, and always just check in on your people, please. I promise you, we are all going through battles that sometimes we may not talk about. So as simple as like, hey, how are you doing? And really just digging a little deeper, it goes it goes a long way. It goes so far. So thank you again. Episode 2 of Nick of Time podcast is now completed. Marilyn, it was an honor to have you on.
thank you.
Much love to you. You always be family friend. And yes, thank you again. I can't thank you, all the fans out there. We appreciate y'all. Y'all take care, okay?
All right. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. For more, be sure to like and subscribe. And y'all take care. See you soon.